Hey everyone, welcome back to MangaMinute. I'm thrilled to share my latest recap video with you. If you missed the previous one, no worries, just take a quick peek in the description below for the link. Now, let's dive right in and enjoy.
Under the relentless glare of the midday sun, the town of Tatano buzzed with activity, a place firmly under the domain of the Sword Saint Guild. The roads were alive with merchants, travelers, and guild members, all bustling about their daily business. Stalls lined the streets, their vendors eager to draw attention to their wares, while the air was thick with the scent of food, sweat, and the clamor of conversation. In the heart of the chaos, amidst the colorful array of banners and guild insignias, a young girl stood near the main thoroughfare. She was determined, her voice cutting through the noise with the precision of a blade, promoting the Grey Wolf Guild, a lesser-known faction in this town of powerful guilds. Her eyes scanned the crowd as she called out to potential recruits, waving a stack of flyers. It was a tempting offer, competitive pay and an opportunity to switch allegiances for those who might be unsatisfied with their current positions. Just a few paces away, another vendor was using the crowd's momentum to their advantage, advertising food for the throngs headed toward the guild competition. The enticing aroma of freshly fried chicken wafted through the streets, a stark contrast to the sweat and dust that hung in the air. "Crispy fried chicken, hot and fresh," he promised, his voice rising above the din. It was a smart tactic. The crowd heading toward the grand event would need sustenance for the hours of excitement to come. The streets of Tatano thrived with this lively mix of recruitment, commerce, and anticipation, as the upcoming guild competition loomed large in everyone's minds. Elizabeth strode confidently down the crowded street, her sharp eyes scanning the bustling town. The heat of the day seemed to energize her, though it made the town's air feel heavy. Her senses, finely tuned to the arcane, buzzed with awareness. She could feel the pulse of magic in the air, the unmistakable sign that something significant was brewing in Tatano. A large-scale event was on the horizon, drawing in crowds from all corners, and with those crowds came opportunities for knowledge. Beside her, Leping walked with a calculating expression. His mind, ever focused on his larger ambitions, recognized the value of such gatherings. In his view, knowledge was the foundation of power, and power the path to rulership. He saw this bustling town as fertile ground for gathering information, each conversation and secret potentially a stepping stone toward greater plans. Behind them, Alpha trailed reluctantly, his mood one of clear disdain. The idea of spending time in a place like this, surrounded by noise and trivialities, seemed like a waste to him. His sharp tone hinted at his unwillingness to indulge in what he considered lesser concerns, despite the clear sense of urgency from his companions. Elizabeth, already irked by Alpha's dismissive attitude, turned sharply toward him. Her patience frayed. She made it clear that her power was no idle boast. The tension between them flared as her words crackled with the unspoken threat of her capabilities. Alpha, despite his usual arrogance, knew better than to push her further. With a shiver of fear, he quickly shifted his demeanor. Seeking refuge behind Leping, he hid, his bravado crumbling in the face of Elizabeth's warning. As if to distance himself from further confrontation, Alpha retreated into his other form, transforming back into the gleaming holy sword. His voice, once mocking, now held a note of deference as he reassured Leping of his readiness to serve, should he be needed. Leping's gaze was drawn to a piece of paper fluttering on the ground. He bent down, picking up the discarded flyer, and began to read its contents. The bold lettering and intricate design immediately piqued his interest. Flyers like this one seemed to litter the streets, scattered in every direction, carried by the breeze or trampled underfoot by the crowds. It was clear that the event being advertised was significant. The more he read, the more curious he became. Elizabeth, noticing Leping's interest, glanced over with a knowing look. She had already sensed the excitement filling the town and was well aware of what was to come. The flyers announced a grand competition, one where the guilds of Tatano would send their most skilled representatives to fight in a series of battles. It was a prestigious event, one that would draw powerful fighters and spectators alike, each guild vying for honor and supremacy in the eyes of the people. From the distance, a loud, resonant sound echoed through the streets, the unmistakable strike of a Chinese gong. It rang out clearly above the din of the town, drawing the attention of everyone in the vicinity. A voice followed, booming with authority, announcing that it was time for the participants to enter the arena. With that, the betting frenzy began. The energy of the crowd shifted instantly. People rushed toward the arena, their excitement palpable. Many shouted as they hurried along, confident in their predictions. "Place your bets!" echoed through the air as some confidently declared the Sword Saint Guild to be the clear winner, urging others to back them as well. But others weren't so sure. Rumors quickly spread through the crowd about new contenders. Someone shouted out that the elves had entered fighters into the competition this time, their rare presence creating a buzz of intrigue. Another voice chimed in, speaking of the rising fame of the Card Guild, a lesser-known group that had quickly made a name for itself in recent months. Whispers of strategies and alliances swirled as the various guilds were discussed, each with its own loyal following. Leping, hearing the excitement around him, felt a surge of curiosity. The competition seemed more complex and exciting than he initially imagined, with so many different factions involved. His mind raced with the possibilities, the chance to witness powerful fighters from various guilds testing their strength and skills. Turning to Elizabeth, a thought crossed his mind. Perhaps they, too, should join the crowd and watch this grand event unfold. As Leping and Elizabeth arrived at the arena, they were immediately struck by its grandeur. The massive structure towered above them, its stands packed with eager spectators, and the sheer size of it made Leping pause in awe. The arena was far larger than he had imagined, a colossal venue that seemed to hum with the energy of the crowd. At the entrance, their path was blocked by a hulking Minotaur guard, towering and intimidating. His eyes narrowed as he addressed them, stopping the pair in their tracks. His magic-infused ticket inspector, a glowing orb by his side, had failed to detect their entry passes. The Minotaur's voice boomed as he demanded to know why they hadn't presented tickets. Unfazed, Leping stepped forward with confidence. He gestured for Elizabeth to leave the situation to him, swiftly pulling a money pouch from his cloak. With a calm voice, he explained that he had seen the price listed on the flyers, 10 gold coins for entry. He offered the money, expecting to purchase their way in. However, the Minotaur's eyes gleamed with greed at the sight of the gold. His tone shifted as he revealed that the remaining tickets had all been monopolized by him, and he was selling them at an outrageous price of 200 gold coins each. Leping's expression darkened as he muttered in disbelief, realizing how brazen this Minotaur was in exploiting the crowd. It seemed even in this world, opportunistic thieves lurked in every corner. Elizabeth, however, had no intention of wasting time or money. While Leping spoke with the Minotaur, she discreetly whispered an enchantment under her breath, casting a subtle hypnosis spell. The spell wound its way into the Minotaur's mind, bending his will. Without a hint of resistance, the Minotaur's demeanor shifted dramatically. Under Elizabeth's influence, his greedy expression softened, and with an unnaturally gracious tone, he pulled out 2 tickets from his pocket. These were no ordinary seats. He presented Leping and Elizabeth with VIP room tickets. "It is a great honor to serve you too," he said with an exaggerated bow, completely entranced. With that, Leping and Elizabeth walked past the gate unchallenged, not only avoiding the absurd price but also securing the best seats in the arena, ready to enjoy the tournament from the luxury of the VIP section. As Leping and Elizabeth stepped into the VIP room, Leping couldn't help but marvel at the luxury surrounding them. The room was lavishly decorated, with plush seating, ornate fixtures, and a perfect view of the arena below. The air inside was different, filled with the quiet murmur of influential figures, far removed from the hustle and bustle of the crowd outside. Leping, wide-eyed, commented on the grandeur, amazed by the opulence they had unexpectedly gained access to. The VIP hall itself was filled with renowned individuals from various regions and guilds. Among them was the famous spell writer, Tagore Severus, known for his brilliant magical inscriptions. At a nearby seat sat the drunk blacksmith, Brian, an affiliation of the Dwarf Kingdom, notorious for his craftsmanship and love of ale. Nearby, the Saga sisters, Luna and Anna, members of the Sword Saint Guild and the renowned Orange Sword and Purple Sword, quietly observed the newcomers. As Lepping and Elizabeth settled in, Anna Saugus noticed them almost immediately. She leaned over to her sister, Luna, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. It wasn't often that unfamiliar faces entered the VIP hall, and Anna was keen to ensure that they belonged. Her voice, a hushed whisper but filled with authority, questioned their presence, wondering aloud if the two were on the invitation list. She wasn't one to let strangers slip by unnoticed. Luna, ever more calm and thoughtful, considered the possibility. She recognized that their guild president had helped many factions recently, perhaps even aiding the newcomers in some way. Her tone was less suspicious than Anna's, musing that the two might be part of a guild they were familiar with. Still, she kept a watchful eye on Lepping and Elizabeth, quietly observing them as the atmosphere in the VIP room remained one of both prestige and subtle tension. Settling into their seats, Elizabeth, still brimming with her usual confidence, casually commanded, "Take out some snacks for me," her eyes glancing over the lavish surroundings. Lepping, though, was far more distracted by the sheer size and energy of the arena. It was his first time witnessing such a massive venue, and the sight of the roaring crowd and the towering stands made him feel a little anxious. He muttered under his breath, trying to calm his nerves, as the anticipation in the air thickened. Down in the center of the arena, a goblin stood proudly on a raised platform, holding a microphone, his voice bursting with excitement. "Ladies and gentlemen, please give me a warm welcome," he shouted, his high-pitched voice cutting through the cheers of the audience. "Let's move towards the finals of the guild competition. I'm your host, Gob the Goblin." His enthusiasm electrified the crowd as they roared in response, eager for the spectacle to begin. With a grand flourish, Gob continued his announcement, introducing the final 4 contestants who had battled their way to the top. "Without further ado, let me introduce the final 4 contestants who have reached the finals. They are..." The crowd held its breath, awaiting the names of the champions. First, the genius swordsman of the Sword Saint Guild, Qing. A wave of applause followed as Qing's name echoed through the arena, his reputation well known among the crowd. Next, the valiant general of the Giant Bear Guild, Jaela. The mention of Jaela stirred the crowd even further, his fierce strength and command recognized by all. Third, the handsome fellow from the Elf Guild, Travis. There was a distinct murmur of approval at this, the elves always drawing attention for their grace and beauty in battle. And last but not least, a special guest representing the Card Guild, Yi. Yi's name was met with both curiosity and excitement, the Card Guild's rising fame making him a wild card in the competition. The goblin announcer, brimming with energy, let the tension build as he asked the question on everyone's minds. Who will be the winner of the guild competition? Let's begin. With that, the arena erupted into cheers, the final battles about to unfold as the crowd eagerly anticipated the clash of the finest warriors.